I wasn't looking for a husband. Wasn't waiting for a proposal. I had a steady job, a cozy home, and a pretty decent sense of where my life was headed. Then he returned my forgotten phone at a coffee shop. Smiled. 6 months later, we were picking a wedding date. A month after that, I overheard him and his father talking about how they'd get half out of me. My home. My savings. My life. I could have screamed. Thrown him out. Instead, I smiled. I let them believe I didn't know a thing. And then I started planning. Quietly. Coldly. Patiently. Funny how it all starts, isn't it? Not with lightning, not with a nightmare, but with something stupidly mundane. A forgotten phone. A normal Tuesday. A smile that hides a hollow core. That day I dashed into Morning Brew on South Congress, planning to stay 20 minutes, max. My calendar was packed, calls piling up, emails blinking on the tablet, just the usual corporate chaos. I was shopping for my niece's birthday, trying to juggle everything, and decided I'd earned myself a caramel latte, a pecan muffin, and 5 blissful minutes of peace. I sat by the window, snapped a picture of the leaf-shaped foam art with my phone, then dove into reading a report, finished my muffin, shoved my laptop into my backpack, and left. The phone stayed behind. I realized it 15 minutes later, already at my car in the mall parking lot. My bag felt suspiciously light. My stomach sank. Crap. I was just about to sprint back when I heard a voice behind me. "Excuse me, are you Brittany?" I turned. Tall guy. Plaid shirt. Calmest face I'd ever seen. He held out my phone. "You left this at Morning Brew." I was at the next table. "Saw you go. Figured I'd catch up." He smiled. Soft, sincere. I thanked him. He hadn't just saved my day, maybe my whole week. We started talking. First about coffee, then about work, favorite Austin hangouts, random movies. 10 minutes flew by and I caught myself thinking, he's easy. Like I'd known him forever. He asked if I wanted to go back in, grab another drink. I said yes. And that's how it began with Ryan. He was local. Worked in his father's construction business. Site visits, project paperwork, helping with logistics. Said he wanted to be an architect once, but life had other plans. His mom had died when he was 9. Dad raised him alone. Ryan didn't complain. Said his father, Stanley, was old school, strict but fair. As for me, I'm Brittany, 32, financial advisor. I've got an office downtown and a house that belonged to my grandmother, charming, bright, with a white porch and a garden I mostly ignore. I work with numbers, cautious with investments, and apparently, too trusting in relationships. Not a romantic idiot, but not a cynic either. If someone seemed good, I believed them. Our relationship grew steady, natural. Ryan was kind, thoughtful. Didn't try to dominate or be the man. He respected my space, praised my decisions, actually listened when I talked about spreadsheets and retirement funds. 5 months in, he proposed. Nothing grand. We were sitting on a lookout point near Lake Travis, eating tacos from a truck. He pulled out a ring and said he wanted to build a life with me. That he loved me. That I was his home. I cried. Said yes. Things moved fast after that. We planned a small wedding in my backyard. Filed the marriage license. He moved in. We talked through budgets, chores, future plans. Ryan was easygoing about it all. Told me over and over how much he admired my independence. How he'd never tried to take what was mine. But his father, Stanley, was a different story. He'd drop by every few weeks under the excuse of visiting. Spoke in clipped, careful tones. His eyes cold. He asked about the mortgage. There wasn't one. Poked around the house, made casual comments that chilled me. Nice place. Ryan really landed on his feet. After the wedding, might be smart to put some things in both names. You know, for the family. Don't forget to update your will. Things happen. I brushed it off. Old school guy, maybe just awkward. Maybe he thought he was being helpful. Until one night. I came home early. A client canceled, and I figured I'd surprise Ryan. I parked quietly, stepped inside, and heard voices on the porch. The door was ajar. I froze in the entryway. "She just needs to add your name to the deed," Stanley was saying. "Then we're good to go. Sell the place, split the profits. You walk away with half." "You think she'll go for it?" Ryan asked, laughing. "She already has. Sweet things halfway in love and has no clue." My whole body turned to stone. They planned this. From the beginning. To use me. Take what was mine. Smile and pretend and gut me like a fish. I stood there, hand on the wall, tasting acid. Then I took a breath. Another. Walked out onto the porch like nothing happened. "Hey, I'm home." Ryan jumped. "Hey, babe, we were just talking." "Yeah, cool. I'm gonna head upstairs." Long day. He grinned, clueless. Stanley just looked at me. That smirk. Did he know? Maybe. Didn't matter. That night I didn't sleep. Just sat in the kitchen, watching the little blue light blink on the water filter. And I made a decision. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to wait. Let them believe. Let them plan. And when the time came, I'd be ready. Colder than them. Smarter. And 10 steps ahead. All week before the wedding, I played the role of the perfect bride. Dress fittings, cake tastings, seating charts color-coded by table and dietary restrictions, straight out of a glossy magazine. No one could tell I'd already heard that conversation. The one where Ryan and his father discussed how she's head over heels, she'll sign anything, how her dad's loaded, and how after the divorce half the house and business will be rightfully his. I'd stood behind a half-open door, holding a gift I'd picked out for his father. A tie still in its box. A minute later, I slipped it quietly back into the closet. No point anymore. When I told my parents what I'd overheard, my dad shot up from the couch. We're canceling everything. Now. But I shook my head. No, they don't get to win that easily. If they want to play games, I said, then we'll play too. Just by our rules. We built a plan. Quiet. Surgical. No drama. No scenes. Just facts, legal shields, and spreadsheets. The house in Barton Creek? I bought it 2 weeks before the wedding, through a trust, solely in my name. The Tesla Model X? Same. Purchased with separate funds, titled independently. Everything was firewalled, legally airtight. My lawyer double-checked every document. I didn't leave a single thread hanging. To keep Ryan from getting suspicious, I compromised. We had the wedding as planned, downtown Austin, a boutique hotel with skyline views. About 70 guests. Both families helped organize. We split the costs down the middle. I paid for the venue, flowers, and photographer. Ryan covered catering and music. His father even chipped in for his suit, not out of sentiment, more like a down payment on the con they thought they were pulling. At the wedding I smiled. Genuinely even. Not because I loved him, but because I had control. My dress was simple, elegant, no sparkle. I looked at Ryan like a man I'd signed a short-term lease with. He thought he'd won the lottery. He had no idea he was already bankrupt. Then came the honeymoon. Ryan planned the whole thing, insisted, actually. Maui, he said. Ocean view suite, convertible rental, tours, start our new life like a real family. I nodded, let him take the reins. He wanted to impress. I knew he'd drain his savings trying to play the part. And he did. Hotel, flights, car, dinners, every charge went to his card. I conveniently forgot my wallet. Then lost my debit card. Then said, "You're the man, show me what that means." And boy, did he try. We walked beaches, ate sushi while the sun set, laughed at nothing over overpriced drinks. He thought he was investing in a dream. Really, he was just financing his own delusion. Back in Austin, he started pushing. Let's add your name to the house deed. Let's open a joint account. Let's make things ours. I smiled and forwarded every message straight to my lawyer. The prenup. Oh, the prenup. He signed it the night before the wedding, rushing through it to make it to dinner with my parents. It's just a formality, I'd said. My dad insists. It clearly spelled out. Any property acquired before marriage remains separate. Any joint ownership requires a notarized agreement in writing. He didn't read it, just scribbled his name and smiled at me like a puppy who thinks he's clever for sitting on command. I didn't rush the divorce. I waited, watched, documented. While Ryan bragged to his buddies that he married rich, I was building a file. Screenshots, emails, receipts, a financial scrapbook of deceit. It wasn't about revenge. It was about clarity, justice, freedom. He sold his soul for the promise of luxury. But the only one who ever invested in this marriage was me. And like in any smart investment, I knew when to cash out. Because when you're playing chess with a man who doesn't know he's the pawn, all you have to do is wait. Sooner or later, the king falls. And he never sees it coming. The Saturday before it all ended, I told Ryan I wanted some fresh air. Maybe drive through hill country, check out a couple plots of land. Always dreamed of building something small and cozy, I said, casual as ever. He agreed, of course. Lately he'd been walking around like he'd already won the lottery. Married now, money in the picture, future secured. As long as I just happened to add his name to a few key documents. He was waiting, and I was watching. The drive really was beautiful. Rolling golden hills, vineyards, little towns tucked between trees, green spilling over both sides of the road. Ryan was rambling about SUVs, flipping through car listings on his phone, speculating how much he could get renting out my old condo. He was imagining his future. I just smiled and thought, you have no idea how late you are to your own plan. When we turned into a gated community, he raised an eyebrow. Here, isn't this already built up? One of the agents sent me an address. Thought I'd check it out. Landscaped lawns, security cameras, soft silence. Ryan was starting to look twitchy. We pulled up to house number 17. It was perfect. Open, warm wood tones, all glass and light, with a view that spilled over the hills. A realtor was already waiting at the door. Brittany, so good to see you again. Ryan squinted. We've been here before? I smiled. I have. A few weeks ago. He followed me inside, wordless. Opened doors. Checked out the appliances. The pool. The smart home features. Looking for signs that this place somehow involved him. Eventually he asked, so this is already bought? Yes. 3 weeks ago. In my name. A little gift to myself. Before the wedding. Your parents know. Of course. My dad helped me pick the smart system. He treats it like a new toy set. Ryan sat down on the couch. Quiet. I could almost hear the math racing behind his eyes, costs, percentages, possibilities collapsing. I sat beside him. I want to live here. But if you don't like it, we'll talk. He nodded, but we both knew. There was nothing left to discuss. Later, our parents showed up. Mine brought pie. His father brought attitude. Stanley walked the backyard like a surveyor claiming land, muttered something about the grill setup. Not bad. Could throw a barbecue here. I watched him calm. He was still playing his part. Still stuck in the script I'd already rewritten. I suggested we walk down the road, show them the trail behind the trees. There was a neighbor I'd met during the closing process, Jason Miller. Retired military, single dad, living with his son. As we approached, Jason was standing at his gate. Tall, grounded, probably mid-40s. His son, Eli, curly-haired and wearing a dinosaur tank top, was crouched near the lawn. Hey Brittany. Glad you stopped by. Hi Jason. This is my husband, Ryan, and his dad. And my folks. Jason nodded to each of them, crisp, polite. Military calm. And then Eli walked over, looked up at me with wide, searching eyes and asked, Are you my mom? Silence. Ryan coughed. Jason stepped forward and scooped up his son. Sorry. His mom left 2 years ago. He barely remembers her. Sometimes he just knows when someone's kind. Jason's smile was apologetic. Mine felt like it was holding back a flood. This little boy looked at me like I could fix the world. And something cracked wide open inside me. I didn't want a performance anymore. I wanted real. A home where kids aren't scared to ask questions. A man who doesn't wrap lies in affection. A life where I didn't need a lawyer to feel safe. That night, after everyone left, Ryan tried again. We're a family now. Should we think about putting the house in both our names? Or a joint account, at least? I looked at him for a long time. Ryan, everything's already in place. Everything's legal. You know that. Yeah, but when you spent the last of your savings on Hawaii, did you stop to ask what would be mine? Silence. I picked up my wine and stepped onto the terrace. Stars blinked over the hills. And in that moment I knew. I was done with their script. Done pretending. This was my story now. And I was going to write a better ending. One with a child who feels safe. A man who means what he says. A life where trust doesn't need terms and conditions. Even if it's still just a whisper of something new. I knew exactly where my future was. And if Ryan ever realizes what he lost, he can count himself lucky that I simply walked away. Because I could have burned it all to the ground. I didn't want to pretend anymore. The whole show, smiles, family photos, weekend outings, Ryan's little hints about our future. I was sick of it. Exhausted. We had a new house bought by me with a pool, a smart home system, and a coffee machine that made lattes better than Starbucks. And still I felt trapped. Not because someone shoved me into that trap, but because I walked in there myself, just to slam the door shut when I was ready. That evening, when Ryan started yet another round of Let's Talk About Us, I knew it was time. Brittany, I really think we should talk this through. The house, the accounts, our future. You know I want to be a partner. An equal. He was standing in the middle of the kitchen, still thinking this was salvageable. That if he said the right words, I'd forget. That my trust could be reasoned with. I put down my glass, turned to him, and said calm, flat. Ryan, I heard everything. Before the wedding. The entire conversation with your father. About how I was head over heels and would sign anything. About how her daddy's got money. About the house and business. rightfully yours after the divorce. I was standing behind the door, holding a gift for your dad. Remember that night? He turned pale, froze, then managed. That, you misunderstood. It was just talk. We didn't mean it. We didn't think you'd hear. But I did. And you know what? I didn't even get mad. I just saw you both clearly for the first time. And I decided to play by your rules. With a twist you thought I didn't know. He opened his mouth again, but I kept going. The house is mine. Bought before the wedding. The car also mine. We have no joint assets. No children. On Monday I'm filing for divorce. It'll be fast. One hearing. One judge. Texas is efficient when people are prepared. He dropped into a chair, looking like someone just kicked the wind out of him. Angry, confused, pathetic. I watched him process the loss of the marriage he only ever valued as an investment. I really did fall for you, Brittany. Later. After we married. I didn't know I would. Too late, Ryan. And even if I believed you, it wouldn't change anything. He sat there for a long while, then silently stood and walked to the guest bedroom. No arguing. No begging. Just closed the door behind him. I stayed in the kitchen. Put the kettle on. Pulled out a chamomile tea bag. The smart speaker picked up my voice command and started playing soft jazz. Outside, the sky darkened. I didn't feel happy. Or relieved. Just clean. Honest. Like something fake had finally been peeled off me. In the morning, I woke up early. The scent of coffee was already drifting in from the kitchen. Ryan had made it, maybe a last attempt at being the caring husband. I didn't go down right away. Just stood in my room, looking out the window. When I did come down, he was zipping up his suitcase. I'm going to my dad's. Don't want to be in the way. That's the right move. You really knew all along? From the beginning. He nodded. No more words. No goodbyes. No scenes. I closed the door behind him and leaned my forehead against the cool wood. Stayed there a moment, just breathing. My dad called an hour later. Asked how I was. Calm, I said. Everything's going according to plan. You did good, sweetheart. We're proud of you. That evening, I took a blanket out back and curled up by the pool. The sky was clear, the stars vivid. Somewhere past the fence, a neighbor's dog barked once, then went quiet. And then, Brittany. I turned. Jason was standing at the fence, holding a mug. His son was beside him, in pajamas, hugging his favorite dinosaur plush. Mind if we stop by for 5 minutes? I smiled. Really smiled. No mask, no filter, no calculation. Of course. Come on in. And inside me, something finally settled. I was home. To myself. I woke up early. For the first time in weeks, no anxiety, no mental checklists, no tightness in my chest. Just morning light spilling across the bed and a strange, gentle quiet filling the house. Quiet without Ryan. That alone felt like a gift. He'd left the day before, saying something vague about going to his dad's. A suitcase, his keys, a forced half-smile, and the door clicking shut behind him. That was it. No real goodbye. No fight. Just an exit. And with it, every ounce of tension I hadn't realized I was still holding. The silence he left behind wasn't heavy. It didn't echo. It breathed. I spent most of the day indoors, not hiding, just being. I brewed strong coffee. I threw open the windows and let the spring breeze drift through the house. I reorganized the pantry. Not because I had to. Because I wanted to. There was space now. In my cabinets, in my chest, in my life. In the afternoon, I stepped outside to check the lemon tree near the back fence. It had been stubborn about fruiting this year. That's when I heard it. Laughter. High-pitched, genuine, and utterly contagious. Eli. He was chasing a soccer ball across the lawn next door, arms flailing like tiny windmills. Jason was crouched nearby, fiddling with something on the sprinkler head. Morning, Brittany, he called, rising to his feet. Morning. Looks like someone's having fun. Jason grinned. Eli decided he's a golden retriever today. He barked for a solid 20 minutes. Hope it didn't wake you. Just a little. But it was very convincing. He laughed, shaking his head. Eli spotted me and made a beeline for the fence. Are you coming over to play? Please. I paused. I hadn't planned on anything. No schedule. No expectations. But something about the way his little face lit up made it feel like the most natural thing in the world. If your dad's okay with it, I said. Jason nodded. We'd love that. We've got fresh lemonade, homemade. With rosemary, if that's not too weird. It's perfect. So I joined them. Lemonade on the back deck. A lazy stroll around the block. Jason told me about his move here after retiring from the military. How he'd wanted something still, something rooted. No more sandstorms or field packs. Just a place to teach his son how to ride a bike and bake banana bread. There was no rush to his words. No agenda. Just a man who had seen enough to know what mattered now. Eli slipped his hand into mine halfway through the walk. He asked if I liked dinosaurs, if I'd ever built a fort out of pillows, if I liked mint chocolate chip ice cream. Then, with all the gravity a 6-year-old can muster, he looked up and said, "Are you going to be part of our family now?" Jason froze. Started to say something, then stopped. I knelt and met Eli's eyes. "That's a very sweet question. I'm glad you asked." Jason gave me an apologetic look, but I shook my head. "It's okay. I'm honored." Later, I baked an apple pie. I don't know why, it just felt right. I carried it next door, and Jason blinked like I'd handed him a treasure. "Looks like this is the start of a serious dessert exchange tradition," he said. "I'm all in," I replied. Eli cheered and ran to get me a crayon drawing of his Dino castle. That night, I curled up on the patio again, wrapped in the same blanket. Only this time I didn't feel alone. I felt steady. My parents called. I told them everything. "We saw it coming," my mom said. "We didn't want to push." "You needed to choose," Dad added. "And you did. We're proud of you." Their voices didn't feel like approval. They felt like home. And maybe that's what I was building again. Not just a house. Not just a life without lies. But a place where people show up with pie and stories, where kids ask honest questions, where love isn't leveraged like a contract. Maybe happiness doesn't kick down your door or arrive on cue. Maybe it just climbs over the fence, holding a cup of lemonade and a dinosaur plush. And maybe, for the first time in years, I was ready to let it in. I sat by the pool wrapped in my favorite throw, the kind that smelled faintly of lavender and laundry soap. Eli was chasing the puppy around the terrace, his laughter echoing against the stone. Jason stepped outside with a mug of coffee, and that quiet calm I was beginning to associate with safety. "Sleep okay?" he asked. "Better than I have in 6 months," I said. And it was true. For the first time in what felt like forever, I wasn't waiting for the next shoe to drop. 3 days had passed since Ryan left. Or, more accurately, since I closed the door behind him. I hadn't expected him to come back. But I should have known better. The email arrived that morning, sent from the attorney who manages my father's affairs. No subject line. Just a scanned letter, written in Ryan's barely legible handwriting. "Dear Mr. Walker, I believe you understand that public attention to this situation could be damaging to all involved. Brittany has portrayed our marriage as sincere, but given the prenup and her recent actions, it's clear she had her own agenda. I don't want to cause trouble. I think it would be best for everyone if we resolved this quietly. A small financial gesture would allow me to leave peacefully and start over. Thank you for your discretion." It wasn't a plea. It was a veiled threat. A last, clumsy attempt at control. I didn't feel anger. Or surprise. Just a cool, clean kind of revulsion. I forwarded it to my lawyer. No note. No emotion. We had anticipated something like this. There was a folder already prepared. Dad called not long after. "Saw the email," he said. "Yeah. Want me to handle it?" Let the lawyer respond. "Officially. You won't get a dime. You're getting good at this." I'm tired of being nice. Later that afternoon, the gate camera lit up. I wasn't expecting anyone. I walked over, glanced at the screen, and there he was. Ryan. No suitcase. No fake smile. Just him, standing there like he wasn't sure what to do with his hands. I didn't answer. Just turned off the screen. But then a text buzzed through a minute later. "Heard you're by the river. I just want to talk. 1 minute. Please." I set the phone face down. Jason noticed. "Everything okay?" I nodded. Just a shadow from the past. We were by the water in a quiet cove past the tree line. Jason and I lounged in wooden chairs, a thermos of coffee between us. Eli had curled up on my lap, worn out from chasing the dog. His small hand rested on my arm, warm and trusting. I watched the trees. And then I saw him. Ryan stood at the edge of the clearing, just watching. He didn't move forward, didn't call out. He saw us, me, Jason, Eli the calm, and stood still. For a moment he looked almost human. Almost sorry. I didn't acknowledge him. Didn't flinch. Just kept stroking Eli's hair. After a while, Ryan turned and walked away. No drama. No parting shot. Just a slow, quiet retreat. And in that moment, I realized something important. I wasn't mad. I wasn't sad. I wasn't anything. Because it was over. Completely. He didn't lose me. He lost himself, The version of himself that could have had a life built on truth, not greed. He bet everything on a con, and I changed the game. That night, I sat by the fireplace, a glass of wine in hand, the dog asleep at my feet. I didn't feel triumphant. Just clean. Like I'd finally stepped out of a room that had been stifling me for too long. Jason came by to return my pie dish. We didn't talk about Ryan. We didn't need to. He said, "Eli asked if we could invite you to movie night Friday." I told him I'd ask. Tell him I'd love that. He smiled. He already assumed you'd say yes. And just like that, the world kept turning. Softly. Easily. As if it had been waiting for me to catch up. I don't know what's ahead. Whether this Jason, Eli, the dog, this new rhythm, turns into a family or just remains a moment of peace. I just know that it's real. It's good. And I want to protect it. Sometimes happiness doesn't arrive with fireworks. It slips in quietly, sits beside you on a bench, and hands you a cup of coffee. And sometimes the best endings are the ones where no one wins, but you walk away whole. That was enough for me. That was everything. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell so you never miss a new video. Thanks for watching and being here with me.